Badass women who made military history. Number 1, Sergeant Lee Ann Hester, Iraq War. Hester, of the 617th Military Police Company, a National Guard unit out of Richmond, Kentucky, is the first woman to receive the Silver Star for exceptional valor since World War II. Hester's squad was shadowing a supply convoy on March 20, 2005, when anti-Iraqi fighters ambushed the convoy. The squad moved to the side of the road, flanking the insurgents and cutting off their escape route. Hester led her team through the kill zone and into a flanking position, where she assaulted a trench line with grenades and M203 grenade launcher rounds. She and Staff Sergeant Timothy Nine, her squad leader, then cleared 2 trenches, at which time she killed 3 insurgents with her rifle. When the fight was over, 27 insurgents were dead, 6 were wounded, and 1 was captured. Hester, 23, who was born in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and later moved to Nashville, Tennessee, said she was surprised when she heard she was being considered for the Silver Star. "I'm honored to even be considered, much less awarded the medal," she said in an interview with the Army Times. Being the first female soldier since World War II to receive the medal is significant to Hester, but she doesn't dwell on the fact. "It really doesn't have anything to do with being a female," she said. "It's about the duties I performed that day as a soldier." Hester, who has been in the National Guard since April 2001, said she didn't have time to be scared when the fight started, and she didn't realize the impact of what had happened until much later. "Your training kicks in and the soldier kicks in," she said. "It's your life or theirs. You've got a job to do, protecting yourself and your fellow comrades."
Number 2, Colonel Ruby Bradley, World War II and Korean War. A survivor of 2 wars, a prison camp, and near starvation, Colonel Ruby Bradley is one of the most decorated women in U.S. military history. Her military record included 34 medals and citations of bravery, including 2 Legion of Merit medals, 2 Bronze Stars, 2 presidential emblems, the World War II Victory Medal, and the UN Service Medal. She was also the recipient of the Florence Nightingale Medal, the Red Cross' highest international honor. A West Virginia native, Bradley joined the U.S. Army Nurse Corps as a surgical nurse in 1934. In 1941, she was taken captive by Japanese forces while serving in the Philippines. She and fellow imprisoned nurses continued to care for their fellow prisoners, earning them the nickname Angels in Fatigues. During her 37 months in captivity, Bradley assisted in 230 major operations and the delivery of 13 babies. "A lot of people died in the last few months," she told the Washington Post in 1983. "There were several deaths a day, mostly the older ones, who just couldn't take it." At the Santo Tomas camp, the military and civilian captives dubbed Bradley and the other imprisoned nurses who provided them with medical treatment Angels in Fatigues. The POWs subsisted mainly on rice, half a cup in the morning and half a cup at night, but Bradley shared her limited rations with the children. "I'd save part of my food for the children later in the day, when they started crying and being hungry," she said. Bradley also learned to be a pretty good thief. "I would take food and put it in my pockets for the children," she said. By the time the camp was liberated by the Americans on February 3, 1945, the formerly 110-pound Bradley had shrunk to 84 pounds. In February 1945, U.S. troops stormed the gates of the Japanese camp and liberated Bradley and her fellow prisoners, where she had been held captive for 3 years. Bradley continued serving in the Army Nurse Corps after her release and then in the Korean War. She dedicated 30 years to the military, becoming only the 3rd woman in U.S. history to be promoted to the rank of colonel. Number 3, Private Opha May Johnson, World War I. Opha May Johnson was the first woman to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. She joined the Marine Corps Reserve in 1918 during World War I, officially becoming the first female Marine. Johnson, due to the good fortune of being first in line that day, was the first of over 300 women to enlist in the United States Marine Corps Women's Reserve during World War I. According to 1918 newspaper articles, as well as the published history of female Marines in World War I, Johnson's first duties were as a clerk at Marine Corps headquarters, managing the records of other female reservists who joined after she did. On July 11, 1919, the American Legion granted a charter to the first post of women's Marine Corps reservists. Known as Belleau Wood Post No. 1, its membership consisted of 90 women who had worked at Headquarters Marine Corps. Johnson was a charter member of this post. At the end of World War I, the Marine Corps, like all services, began the steady disenrollment of women, including Johnson, from active service. After her brief military career, she became a clerk in the War Department. Number 4. Commander Darlene Iscra, Gulf War. Iscra served in the Navy for 21 years and was the first female to command a U.S. Navy ship. Iscra retired from the Navy in 2000 and earned her Ph.D. in sociology from the University of Maryland. She is the author of Breaking Through the Brass Ceiling, Elite Military Women's Strategies for Success, and Women in the United States Armed Forces, A Guide to the Issues. I hadn't realized what a big deal being the first woman to command a ship would be until I arrived in Naples, and on my desk was a stack of congratulatory cards and letters from people I didn't even know, she said. I also got a few cards from people I hadn't heard from in literally decades. Soon afterwards, the public affairs officer from Naples asked to do an interview. That was the one that was published soon after I took command, to news outlets all over the world, even in Saudi Arabia, which freaked my husband out, as even back then, we were worried about terrorism. About 3 weeks after I took command, desert storms started in the Gulf, and we were ordered underway towards the Suez Canal to intervene in case the canal was mined or otherwise blocked. We picked up an explosive ordnance disposal team in La Maddalena, Sardinia, and headed to an area on the Mediterranean side of the canal, where we stayed for the entire duration of the war. No mines were laid, though we did have several interesting incidents, but those are stories for another day.